With both of these cozy RPGs having a similar price tag with similar gameplay mechanics, yet they still are very different, it can be difficult to decide which one you want to pick. But I can help you because I played Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma and I got a taste of what it's like, and I also played Fantasy Life on the 3DS, and I have been dissecting trailers of this new entry to get an understanding of what to expect. So let me help you out and squish the like and subscribe buttons because I'm gonna be streaming and reviewing both of them and you don't want to miss out on that. And for the sake of making this video easier for me, Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma will be referred to as Rune Factory, whereas Fantasy Life 1, The Girl Who Steals Time, will be referred to as Fantasy Life. Now, one of the first things we're gonna come across in Fantasy Life is character customization. Similar to the 3DS version, we can choose our gender and how our eyes, nose, mouth, hair, height, and skin color looks like, as well as your voice. And this new entry features a bit more flexibility with the sliders, as we can see in the trailers. The characters in this game have more of a chibi-like art style, they're very cutesy. On the other hand, Rune Factory has two protagonists, which are already designed for you, Subaru and Kaguya. And based on what we know, we can't change how our eyes look, or mouth, or nose, or anything like that. In terms of clothing, the Rune Factory trailers show that the protagonists keep wearing the same outfit the whole time. I'm sure you can upgrade your armor for better stats, but I don't know if the outfit itself is gonna be changing frequently. We see some exclusive outfits that we can buy with real-life money, for example the set which is granted with the collector's edition. But I hope that this is not the only way for us to change our clothes, where we're gonna need to buy separate DLCs for the fits. However, in Fantasy Life, armor sets are locked to the life you choose, and if the rules follow those of the 3DS version, the sets will also be gender locked at times. These armor sets are gonna give you better or worse stats depending on what you wear, and based on the 3DS version, the set that you wear will also apply to your character when you're out and about in the world. I'll make sure to let you know the exact answer for both when I play them and review them for you, but you can change your name in both of these games. In terms of the character customization, I'm okay with either way. I never feel like an urge of, oh no, I don't want to play a game anymore because I can't choose how my character is gonna look like, but I am interested in knowing if that is a factor that keeps you away from playing certain games. Speaking of customization, we touched on the art style a bit, but as you can see, these two games look very different. Fantasy Life has more cutesy, chibi-style characters with a bit of Animal Crossing New Horizons, a lot of pop of color in the island, but then more nude colors in the desert areas. Whereas Rune Factory feels more like you're playing an anime. It feels a lot more colorful, and the characters overall have a soft face, for a lack of a better term. The biomes look different, especially in the 4 villages that we have that are designated to the 4 seasons. And this leads us to the villages themselves and house customization, where both games have their own take on it. Fantasy Life assigns you a robot that can terraform the island, so you can add buildings, change the terrain, create surfaces of water, and add decoration to your heart's content. This also applies to your house, where you can decorate it with different furniture, wallpaper, floorboards, and more. And of course, you can either buy these items or make them yourself using the different lives that are available, such as carpenter and artist. We still don't know if our house is gonna be one room only or if we're gonna have multiple ones. The trailers we've seen so far show us that we can only have one room at a time. While we don't know exactly how big the island is gonna be, it does look majestic. It's called Ginormosia if you see a trend here, and there's been a lot of speculation about what traveling through time is gonna entail. Maybe we're helping rebuild an island either in the past or the present, I'm not sure, and then we're using the other timeline to gather resources. It's gonna be interesting to see. Everything is very vague right now, but that's the beauty of waiting for these games to come out and just being excited and dissecting trailers and seeing what we can come up with. Now, switching to Rune Factory, we are not sure if we can customize our house, but there's speculation that we might be able to. Additionally, in Rune Factory, we have 4 Japanese-themed villages that designate each of the 4 seasons. So these villages are gonna determine which crops you can plant and harvest. You can still terraform the land to an extent by adding bodies of water or flattening the land. You can add buildings, farming plots, decor, and more. And the decor that you add gives you stat boosts. I personally like this approach because it usually encourages me to pay a little bit more attention into decorating. But this doesn't stop here. You're also micromanaging your villages. You're building homes for newcomers, you're deciding what jobs to assign to them, and all of this helps you with collecting more and more resources. You're also gonna rank up your villages in Rune Factory to get the god's blessings and expand the amount of villagers that can move in, but note that these villagers are gonna need money so that you can keep hiring them. And with all of this in mind, you're probably wondering about traversal. How's it gonna be? Thankfully, both of these games seem to give us plenty of accessibility when navigating the land. We can fast travel in both. We also get different mounts to use to facilitate things for us. Fantasy Life also lets us swim, climb ledges, and jump, whereas Rune Factory lets us jump and use our parasol as a glider to move around. Also, both of them give us a mini-map as well as a larger map to navigate around the open world. But all of this does make me wonder about how engaging is the open world going to be, since both of them are pretty much open and you can go and roam around wherever you want to. In the trailers, we see that Fantasy Life has lively towns, but the outside areas feel very empty. I hope we don't get to a point where we feel like, damn, I just missed the 3DS version. If you played that one, you know how beautiful the biomes were. As for Rune Factory, in my preview, I was very limited with the locations that I can visit. So while the villages felt very full and lively, I couldn't go far away to see how things are in the outside areas. By the way, in Rune Factory, you can't enter the buildings that you add. Some have like a open front, while others are just placed buildings where you have no way of seeing what's inside. Whereas in Fantasy Life, you can enter shops and you can see that most of them are pretty small, but you can interact with these shops if you care about that. And this brings me to exploring these worlds and coming across combat. And this factor is gonna be one of the many that will determine what you're gonna buy. Rune Factory needs combat. There's no way for you to be playing without engaging in it. Fantasy Life, on the other hand, is a bit more flexible due to the 14 lives that you can join. I'm actually working on a video to post tomorrow after this one goes live, where I'm gonna guide you through the different lives and the trailers that we've seen so you can get an idea of which life you want to prioritize first. But the gist of things is that you might be able to just do one live, but some lives will require you dabble in others if you want to master and succeed of them. So for example, if you want to be a cook, you might have recipes that also need fish and veggies. So that means you're gonna have to dabble with the angler and the farmer life respectively. But you can also again try pulling off just being a farmer without dabbling in any of the 4 combat lives, for example, which are the Hunter, Magician, Paladin, and Mercenary. And if the game follows the rules that it had in the 3DS version, the story campaign was playable without ever having to fight anyone or anything. So let's take a look at the combat in each of these games. In Rune Factory, you can use different weapons like the bow, one-handed sword, two-handed swords, dual blades, and talisman. You also have a variety of special abilities to buff and heal yourself. And based on my experience so far, combat felt fluid and quick, and I preferred the sword over the bow. I always appreciate a more hack and slashy gameplay style, so these are always a welcome kind of combat style for me in my RPG/cozy game hybrids, so I'll probably be going with the one-handed sword. You can even use your mount in this game to help you defeat some enemies. Adding to that, you can also dash out of enemies' attacks with a perfect dash that slows down time to give you more room to execute further damage. You also have a skill tree to choose how you want your character built to be. In Fantasy Life, it also looks like we're gonna have a skill tree, and then you also have 4 weapon types to choose from based on your combat life. So Mercenary means that you have a one-handed sword, Hunter means you're gonna have a bow, Paladin gives you the sword and shield, a Magician grants you a staff and some magic items. Upgrading your gear and leveling up your rank will make you stronger, and all combat lives have special abilities that you can use, and we can see that we can roll out of enemies' attacks to protect ourselves. We have some perfect dodges in some of these lives, and we can buy or make potions to heal and buff ourselves. I also want to note that you can use other lives such as the Tailor, for example, to make gear which is gonna make you stronger because it will give you better stat boosts. And this of course begs the question, how difficult are these games? In my time with Rune Factory, I saw that we have 3 difficulty levels to choose from between easy, medium, and hard. As for Fantasy Life, we don't have news about that just yet. The 3DS version did not have any difficulty levels, and some lives were extremely hard, with bosses requiring a ton of grinding to gear up and properly defeat. Again, the story campaign was easy to play without fighting, but mastering lives was very grindy. And the real tough fights came later on from the DLC's trials, which at times needed you to squad up with your IRL friends to even stand a chance at taking down the monsters. Both of these games implement dungeons, so we're gonna be battling hordes of enemies and eventually a boss in the end. I played one of the dungeons in Rune Factory and it was very fun, and I saw that we have a checkpoint system to save and replenish stamina when needed. Now with the trailers, Fantasy Life seems to have these plants that we can grow and then we can go inside them and battle monsters in what is a procedurally generated dungeon. This means that each run will be different in terms of the monsters and resources that you can gather in the dungeon. We also saw in a trailer that was released yesterday that we can set up camp to replenish our stamina. This is gonna be important because special abilities usually require stamina. Rune Factory, on the other hand, uses RP and SP. I will break down all of these further in the before you buy video for each game. Exploration is also going to keep us on our toes in both. Rune Factory's monsters will behave differently between the day and the night, where the nighttime means that feistier enemies will be around. On the other hand, Fantasy Life's areas have different rankings, and this will determine how difficult the monsters will be compared to your level. And in Fantasy Life, we also see some shrines that we can visit with puzzles to solve inside to get some rewards, and also some of them had some monsters. While exploring, you're gonna come across different villagers in both games, and I would say this is yet another factor that can be a big deterrent for why you would not want to buy a game or skip one over the other. So let's talk about it. But before we get into that, hello you gorgeous human being, it's Miss Bubbles. If this video is helpful so far, please consider supporting the channel by donating to my coffee or checking out my YouTube members for a lot of perks. These videos take a long time to make and a lot of dedication, but I want to make sure that you're always making very well-educated decisions before you buy whatever game you're gonna be spending a lot of time with next. And if anything, squish the like and subscribe buttons because that goes a really long way. So let's talk about the romance and villagers and, relationships and all of that in both of these. Rune Factory has 16 bachelors and bachelorettes to choose from, which I know many of you have already decided on who you're gonna be romancing, so let me know who you're choosing. You can romance whoever you want regardless of your character's gender, and you can even marry them. Each character will have their own backstory that they will share with you, and you can take them on dates to get to know them. All of these candidates are voice acted in both Japanese and English. The voice acting in Japanese is my favorite at the moment. For some reason, I just couldn't get into the English voice acting. I just couldn't take them seriously. And this was actually very surprising for me because I usually prefer English dubs because English is not my first language. And sometimes I find it very hard to read text, especially if there is a cutscene where I cannot control how fast the text is gonna appear on the screen. Now, these same candidates can also be recruited as companions that can go with you on adventures, and you're gonna see them follow you around in the world. And I saw that we can have 3 active companions at a time. In Fantasy Life, however, there is no romance. Villagers can have requests for you to fulfill, and some can be recruited to be your companions, where they're gonna follow you around, again, go with you on adventures and help you in combat. Some can also be recruited for a limited time if you are fighting these phantoms that we saw in one of the trailers. So there is no dating and marriage mechanics in Fantasy Life. Additionally, in the trailers we've seen so far, we can see some voice acting, but it's not as extensive and deep as we see in Rune Factory. In Fantasy Life, you can also have one human ally and one pet to follow you if this new entry follows the gameplay mechanics that it had in the 3DS version. And based on what we've seen from the trailers, again, it seems to confirm this. This also leads us into the multiplayer aspect where Rune Factory is a solo experience. You're not going to be able to play this in couch co-op or online with your friends. Whereas Fantasy Life is the perfect game to be playing with your friends. You can play with up to 3 of them online, so that's gonna make you a team of 4, or you can play in couch co-op with your friends. We still don't know if your friends are capable of customizing and buying stuff from your island. I'm gonna be testing both multiplayer and couch co-op on May 18th when we stream the game on the channel, so make sure you tune in. And on May 20th, I'm also gonna be streaming it with Josh from Josh's Gaming Garden, so we can also show you how things are gonna be in multiplayer. So stay tuned because both me and Mr. Bubbles and Josh are gonna be playing it together. There's also couch co-op in Fantasy Life, but based on the trailers, it seems like you can only play as Trip, for example, and you don't seem to be able to stray away from player 1. So again, I'm gonna look more into this and give you more accurate information. Another important factor about both of these games is how are you gonna play them? Where are you gonna play them? When are you gonna play them? Now, Level 5 has had a few anti-consumer decisions recently that I already addressed in this video, so with that out of the way, in summary, I would say what you need to know is that there is no physical release in the West, and seems like even if you buy the Japanese version, which has English available, you might need a Japanese account to access things like the digital deluxe items and pre-order items, which might be off-putting to some of you. And you also have to remember that you might have to deal with customs depending on the country you're based in. In that video that I mentioned, I go into detail about how the game increased its prices and all of that, so make sure to check that out. But I don't want to be like a broken record and just keep repeating stuff. So before you're like, why is she not talking about what they did, blah, 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 I did talk about them extensively in that video. Let's talk about Fantasy Life's different editions and the prices, but please remember that these are the US equivalents, so if you live anywhere else, please make sure to check what the prices are for your store fronts or wherever you're buying the game from. First, we have the regular edition, which is $60, or the digital deluxe edition, which is $70. The good thing is that this game offers cross saves that we don't see that often, so you can port your save through the cloud and you can continue your journey at any time from any other device that you own the game on. You're gonna need an Epic Games account, and of course you're gonna have to be online if you want the cloud save to carry over to another platform. So to clarify this, I doubt you're gonna need to be online apart from when the saves are being uploaded to the cloud and downloaded from the cloud to your device. The Digital Deluxe has these added items which are platform locked, so you cannot use these items on any other platform that you own the game on unless you also bought the Digital Deluxe edition on that platform as well. We don't know if the same applies to the pre-order items, I wish we do. And by the way, the Digital Deluxe edition gives you 3 days early access on all platforms except the Switch. Level 5 also announced that Fantasy Life is coming to Switch too, but we don't know how much the upgrade is gonna cost, nor when the release date for that is. Some Reddit posts speculate that the upgrade will be around 300 yen, which is equivalent to $2, but I would wait for an official statement from Level 5 to know for sure. Now, a lot of you have been asking me, Bubbles, I don't know what to do. I have this platform or that platform and the Nintendo Switch. What do you recommend I play the game on? Based on what we've seen in the trailers, the Switch 1 edition just looks like it's suffering, is struggling a lot, it's not running the best. However, the footage that we've seen from PlayStation, for example, seems to be running really well. I'm gonna be playing the game on PC, on Steam Deck. I'm gonna get back to that in a second. Switch 1 and hopefully Switch 2. So I'm gonna cover it for you on all bases. Make sure that you're subscribed. However, when it comes to the Steam Deck, I also saw some speculation regarding the fact that it's not gonna be running on the Steam Deck. Why? Because Level 5 is implementing what is called the anti-cheat, whatever that is. Apparently, if a game has that, it means that it cannot run on Linux. But then I also saw some people state that the Steam Deck is finding workarounds to still run it. So I don't know a lot about this anti-cheat thing. I don't know how it works. I don't know why they're even doing it. I just do my due diligence to let you know. Be careful if you're just hoping to buy this game and only play it on the Steam Deck. Don't pre-order it just yet. Just wait until the reviews are out and then we can tell you if it's gonna run on the Steam Deck or not. As for Rune Factory, the base price is $60. You will get the game in physical edition in the West, with the game being fully loaded on the cartridge for both Switch 1 and Switch 2. However, keep in mind that the Switch 2's price is $70 for the base game. I also looked at their limited edition called Earth Dancer that I know a lot of you are interested in. Note that it seems to be limited to only Switch 1 based on Marvelous's website right now. Now, this edition is gonna give you access to a soundtrack CD, an art book, a Japanese folding fan, the Seasons of Love DLC bundle with additional Woolby DLC costumes, and a Woolby plush keychain, and this is all gonna be packaged with the game in a custom box. This was set to $99. Note that Rune Factory doesn't offer cross saves, so if you're gonna play on one platform and then be like, oh, I just wanna play on my PlayStation right now, I don't wanna be playing on Switch anymore, you can't depend on your save going to the cloud and then you can download it on the other platform. So this might be something that might deter you from buying it. As for the performance on the Switch 1, in my preview, I stated that I tried it on the Switch 1 and it ran really well. Apart from a few pop-in here and there was no stuttering, there was no lags, there was no issues at all. It ran a lot better than Rune Factory 5, so I can only imagine how much better it's gonna be on the Switch 2 as well. Also, some of you asked me if these games require previous knowledge of the previous games. You don't. You can come into this for the first time and still understand everything. And I highly recommend you watch my Everything You Need to Know Before Pre-Ordering Rune Factory or Everything You Need to Know Before Pre-Ordering Fantasy Life, because I go into even more details about both of these games. Thank you to my YouTube and Patreon bubblies for making these videos possible, and a shout out goes to The Game Dimension, Jake Logan, Neha, and Will for going the extra mile. Until next time, stay bubbly.